So I heard I should talk about this movie. I love understatements. What can I say? Parasite. So Parasite's a movie needs no introduction from me. For the Oscar wins of Parasite, it won Best Original Screenplay. Bong Joon-ho, the director, won Best Director, it won Best Foreign Language Film, and Best Picture. At this point, I assume if you watch my channel, you're a movie person, so you've probably heard of Parasite. If you're not a movie person and you watch my channel, thanks. In a world where I have nothing to offer for this review, I have nothing new to offer for this review. There are YouTube videos breaking down Parasite ad nauseum, doing the deep dive. So really, I can't offer you anything here that you haven't already heard, except for my personal opinion. I guess you haven't heard that yet. That's the thing in this video you can't find anywhere else. You can find my face. This face. Hey, you clicked on it. Parasite is a South Korean film. What it's about, okay, it's like this. Like, I know the director, Bong Joon-ho, I saw him say the best way to go into this movie is cold. So I'm gonna give you a non-spoiler warning. Basically, I'm gonna do that first act setup that I do in any review where it's kind of like, oh, here's kind of what the movie's about. All right, cut off before we start getting into spoilers, and here's what I think about the movie. So out of respect for him and his work and the fact that he would want you to go into the movie cold, not knowing anything, I'm gonna let you know, all right, I'm gonna kind of let you know where the movie heads. If you don't want to even know that, long story short, you should see Parasite. It's great. But the movie's about this family living in poverty, and the son gets the opportunity to be an English tutor for this rich family's daughter. And then he's like, hey, I know someone who could be an art instructor for your son. And then he kind of weasels his sister into it, and the whole family just kind of weasels their way into this rich family's house. And of course, the rich family doesn't know they're all related, so it's this whole, they're hustlers. It's a scheme going on, and that kept the movie really engaging, even intense when there wasn't necessarily an intense moment, but it's always on your mind like, are you guys gonna get caught? But the movie is definitely about classism and the rich versus the poor. And the way this movie breaks it down and portrays it, it's pretty genius. I mean, that's not even all there is in the movie. I mean, it's about social class, social status, this side versus that side, yes. But it's not even limited to just that. To the point, not to sound redundant, but it's a movie about human beings. How we treat each other versus how we view each other, how we don't even think it's weird. But it does it in a way that's fun. Sounds weird to say out loud, but the movie is actually quite fun in its execution. It's funny, it's whimsical, it's fun, but also turns up the drama, it's relevant, it's actually dark, thought-provoking. This movie has a scene that goes from fun to very intense to pretty dark and tragic. Not every filmmaker can pull that off without having conflicting tone. There's a scene with a storm that wonderfully illustrates like how the two families deal with it and what it means to them, and it puts it all into perspective for you. When I was a kid, this is actually a true story. I was young. I was no older than 11 or 12, and I remember this girl, she was younger. She was in the single digits, probably 8 or 9, so she was younger than me. This was in church, and we were all these kids were pumped because we were like, yeah, there might not be any school tomorrow because there's going to be snow. Yeah, no school and snow, and we're going to play in the snow. It's going to be fun. And I remember her saying, it's easy to say that, but what about all the poor and homeless people, and they're going to freeze, and it's easy to see it your way, but what about how they experience it? True story. And this is the 90s, you know, there wasn't social media around it. Yeah, it was... I remember being like, this kid just took us to church. Anyhow, there's a part in this movie that kind of illustrates the same thing with weather, and it just took me right back to that. That time when I was a kid, that a younger kid taught me that lesson that Parasite's illustrating. It's a wild world. And that's one of the impressive things about this movie. More than a few times I've seen a movie have a message, but it's like the movie relies on its message to carry the entire thing. So it's like, oh, if the message doesn't hit you, it's, what do you have now? What do you have for a movie? What do you have for a film? What do you have for entertainment? But this movie, if you want to see the message, and it's there. I mean, at a point, you can't not see it anymore. But the movie itself, message aside, is remarkably entertaining. It's like a dark drama comedy. It's a dark dramedy. More movies fail at that than succeed at that, and Parasite's one of the ones that does succeed in that. In astronomy, we call that the Goldilocks zone. I gotta give props to Kang Ho's song. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Might be a couple of mispronunciations in here. But that dude, everyone in the movie does a great job. I thought they were all fantastic. But when I think of the cast, like, he's the one who stands out. He was amazing. I'm actually really shocked he wasn't nominated for an Oscar. The dude just crushes it. I thought he was great. It's definitely one of those movies you need to do a second pass. Like, after you watch it, you should probably watch it again. Because when you start realizing how the movie's addressing what it's addressing and how it's breaking it down, it's cool to go back and watch the movie again and see how it does it from the beginning up until the point you actually kind of, it gripped you with it. By implication, does that mean I watched this movie twice? Yep. There was no real rush to get my review out, so yeah, I watched it twice. I was glad I watched it twice. I appreciated it more the second time. Because in the end, I thought Parasite was great. I'm not one of those people who's like, Oscars are the end-all be-all, but if you're working in that industry, they kind of are for you in your career. So I know everybody's touched on it, but seeing the look on Bong Joon-ho's face when he won the Oscar for, I believe it was Best Screenplay, the smile on his face puts a smile on my face. The spectrum of people after they watch Parasite is like, it's the movie of the decade, or it was great. Whether or not it's the film of the decade, film of the year, or just a great movie, that's a different conversation. But most agree it's a solid movie. It's great, it's well made, it's engaging, it's well acted, and it's definitely worth watching, definitely worth buying on Blu-ray. All right, so Parasite, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.